at some point we are going to have to do a whole show about how good this show sounds.
Everybody, welcome to Downballot. We do the show live every Friday, or maybe we're changing that. Who knows? 7:30 p.m. Pacific right here on Twitch, twitch.tv/Echoplex Media. You can support this project many ways. Just go to echoplexmedia.com, click that support tab, and of course, live viewers, you all know the deal here on Twitch, how to give people money. I'm Producer Dave. You can find me on your grinder grid now in the East Bay.
This is the Councilman. You can find me at THE_Councilman on X/Twitter, the X Twitter, maybe. X Twitter. And I'm still there occasionally, getting spicy. But if you really want to know where I'm at, I'm probably up in your business looking for an easement or some sort of encroachment on your property, maybe do some eminent domain action. You know, I'm digging through some land use documents. I'm probably up at City Hall, you know, on the second floor, the third floor, just hanging around. You know, so you'll see me there. You'll see me there. And also on this show, obviously, 7:30 p.m. Pacific, most Fridays, except when we move to Tuesdays.
I think
Possibly.
we're moving to Tuesday. Yeah.
Let's do it. Let's just do it. See you next Tuesday. Cunt.
See you next Tuesday. That's the main reason to move to Tuesday, so you can say see you next Tuesday.
100%.
That one's for the Aussies.
We'll see you next Tuesday, Michael Jackson. But yeah, really happy to be here as always with you, producer Dave, and looking forward to digging into the local dirt, because as we all know, all dirt is local, and there's plenty of it right here in the South Bay for us to dip into.
All right, what do we got for leading off?
Today's episode of Downballot is called Workers United. So it looks as though a strike has been averted. We had reported earlier on Downballot that city workers in San Jose were potentially going on strike, which would mean a great disruption to lots of things, but really justified given their demands were not that onerous. But it looks like the deal that was struck did not go over so well with Mayor Ed 209, and he's making a big stinky about it. So we'll hear more about that here.
City leaders have seemingly averted a contentious strike by members of two unions. The deal, which still must be ratified by the rank and file and passed by the council, could include pay raises of as much as 15% over the next 3 years. KTVU South Bay reporter Jesse Garrett live tonight at City Hall with the fine print and the mayor's very pointed objections to it. Jesse, good evening.
Mike, good evening to you. The full council getting briefed this evening on the details of this agreement. It's an agreement the mayor says will, not maybe, but will return the city to the fiscal crisis of the last decade.
What San Jose needs is a profile of courage, and what they're seeing is politics as usual.
For the first time,
Get the fuck out of here.
San Jose's first-term mayor, pulling no punches and publicly venting his frustration with city council politics. Tuesday, before the open session started, members agreeing to a new contract with two of the city's largest unions, IFPTE Local 21 and AFSCME Local 101.
It's hot off the presses. We're all excited about it.
The smiles and hugs are well-founded. The new deal would see pay raises of up to 15% over the next 3 years, 6% in year one, 5% in the second year, and in the third year, between 3.5% to 4%. There's also a provision for 8 weeks of paid family leave, up from just 1 week, and money for reinvestment in public services.
I am very optimistic that our group will also vote to ratify the contract agreement. I think it is a huge win for both of our unions.
Union members have been rattling strike sabers after months of negotiations stalled. They initially asked for an 18% raise, with the city countering 12%. Union members say the high cost of living and increased workload have pushed potential recruits to other municipalities.
And ultimately, because our wages have been so far behind, they ultimately find better pay at neighboring jurisdictions.
Mayor Matt Mahan agrees with the family leave provision, but says a 13% pay raise stretches the city to its limit. This deal, he believes, will push San Jose over a fiscal cliff. According to Mahan, San Jose has over $4 billion in unfunded pension liabilities and billions in deferred city maintenance. The already balanced 2023-24 budget must be reopened to find a few $1 million to cut to pay for the new contracts.
We will be cutting millions, likely tens of millions of dollars in services from our budget in the years ahead. And I haven't heard anyone who supports this deal identify whose taxes they're willing to raise and whose services they're willing to cut. And we have seen this movie before.
Number crunching for the agreement right now in the council, and then it goes to the unions for ratification, possibly as early as next week, then back here to the council for a full reading in public sometime next month. One veteran on the council tells me it's important to have labor peace at a time like this, in this economic climate, and that'll be much more valuable, even though it means some difficult decisions down the road. We're live outside San Jose City Council. Jesse Gary, KTVU, Fox 2 News. We'll head back to you up in Oakland, Mike.
All right, Jesse, thank you.
We need bold leadership, Councilman.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I if only someone would run for city council or for mayor who, you know, has some boldness and some depth and some understanding of the stakes and what it really takes to lead a city like ours. If only someone had that understanding and took the bull by the horns. Are you interested in running, producer Dave?
I don't.
You're now a Fremont resident.
Yeah, I don't live in San Jose anymore.
Oh, sorry. Or somewhere in the greater East Bay. I forget, honestly, where you live now. But anyway, it's just politics as usual, right? The city council had an opportunity for a profiling courage, very Jack Kennedy-esque of Mayor Ed 209 there. And he could be the profiling courage too, frankly. He's just a whiny little brat when it comes down to it. Yes, is this going to mean shifting the budget around, finding the resources to pay for basically people, right? Sure. But guess what? Like 80% of city budgets, of public agency budgets, are people anyway. It's for people because people run the programs, right? No matter how much we're all worried about AI and the great Skynet in the sky or in the future, in terms or whatnot, we're not there yet. First, and also, it still takes people to run programs when it comes to government services. So you're making an investment in the people and in these programs. You're not going to, you don't not necessarily have to cut the programs in the future because you're making this investment now. And we'll see how it all comes to play. I know exactly where they're going to look for cuts, or where the mayor's going to look for cuts. It's, arts and parks and libraries and all the fun stuff, but all the good, the stuff that strengthens the community, the stuff that connects us all. And instead, we'll just have a bland Tan Jose of, what we talk about a lot, which is those government-funded housing projects that don't look very pleasant, right?
Right.
And that's law. That'll be our whole city. There won't be any depth to it at all.
So it's funny, like in this case, bold leadership basically means don't give people that make your city run a raise that's sort of not even really in line with like the cost of living and how much it's gone up, but just to offset some of that. That would be bold leadership, would be to tell them to fuck off.
Yeah, I guess so, and that's sort of what he's going for. But again, the irony of this all, right, is that one, he's talking about this is just politics as usual. He's playing politics as usual, just with saying that, right, and taking the stance that he's taking, because his stance is there to defend the people that got him into office, right? Big business, big corporate, big tech, big corporate Silicon Valley, right? The pro pension reform, the anti public worker folks, he had to get in bed with, whether or not his true values as a human being and a man for others, come to bear at all, and whether he has to whether he can sleep at night. He got into bed with them to win. And now he has to pay the piper and be this guy and put forth this narrative, and he's married to it. He can't get away from it. So he ends up sounding like a whiny little politician. And the rest of us are out here trying to, like you said, get at least something for these folks who have been seeing nothing but cost of living increases and not a whole lot in terms of increase in pay. And in fact, they're working overtime. And in fact, they're working overtime because the city is god awful at filling positions. Well, they're god awful at filling positions because they're not paying people enough, right? It's a perpetual cycle. So the more we pay people, the more we respect our workers, the better everyone's going to be. It's going to lift, like that anonymous council member said. Labor peace does, in fact, benefit everyone in the long run. But it's funny, like the veteran council member. There's not many veteran council members at this point, so
right.
That narrows it down to like 2 or 3. And I think Gary said Jesse Gary said he, so that narrows it down to like 2 guys. So we can, we'll let you all guess who they are.
All right. Well, up next, I guess I'm not sure if this is good news or bad news or just news. We got we're going to move on to winners and losers, where there are no winners, and if anybody does win, it probably wasn't who you were rooting for. This is a case where it looks like the police arrested the police.
Isn't that always fun?
We're going to start with FBI agents busy this morning, arresting nearly a dozen Bay Area police officers for crimes ranging from violating suspect civil rights to obstruction of justice.
The officers all worked for either the Pittsburgh or Antioch Police Department.
Oh, I'm stunned.
NBC Bay Area's Valina Jones was in Oakland federal court when officers faced a judge. She joins us live now from there with the whole story. Valina?
Well, that's right. You know, this early morning raid started around 5 a.m. this morning. And like you said, this stems from a 2-year-long investigation into both current and former members of both the Antioch and Pittsburgh police departments. Some of those officers were here in court today. They spent the majority of the day here inside this federal courthouse. In total, around 9 suspects have been arrested. This is a result of 4 different indictments today. 7 of those defendants were in court for their arraignments. The charges are wide-ranging, including conspiracy to distribute narcotics, altering and falsifying records of a federal investigation, wire fraud where officers allegedly defrauded money from the police department, civil rights violations, and obstruction of justice. Now, during the investigation, racist and homophobic text messages were also found between dozens of Antioch police officers on their cell phones. That's also under investigation by the state.
Collectively, these 4 indictments describe a group of officers who acted as though they were above the law. The officers had no interest in de-escalation or other proper law enforcement tactics to avoid violence.
Color of law violations strike at the very heart of our justice system. They undermine public confidence in the law and law enforcement and erode the fundamental rights of our citizens.
Now, one of those Antioch police officers, Marisa Amari, is charged in 2 of the indictments. His attorney says they are still waiting to review the discovery of evidence. They add they're disgusted by this early morning FBI raid, explaining that their client would have surrendered peacefully if he was given the opportunity.
These dramatics, and that's what they were, that took place at his house in the very early morning hours today were entirely unnecessary. It was unconscionable. There were flashbangs deployed at his house. He was surrounded, and there was use, as I understand it, of a megaphone.
A megaphone?
Whoa, a megaphone.
Most of all the defendants in court today are being held on a $100,000 secured bond using their house as collateral. All of those suspects that were in court today are expected to be back in court by the end of this month. We also know that there are some people that were not arraigned. They are currently either out of state. Most of them are out of state. We know that this investigation stemmed with help from FBI officers in Texas and Hawaii and other places throughout the country. So a lot of hands involved in this investigation. Some of those defendants still need to come back here to California.
All right. Thank you, Valina. A lot of information there to digest, a lot to go through. Thank you.
Yo, one of them like obstructed or falsified documents in a federal investigation. You know that the FBI is going to come after you for that. Like, you're fucking with their shit. Like,
yeah, and you're like, local law enforcement, Antioch, Pittsburgh Police Department. Like, you don't think they're gonna come after you for stepping on their shit? I think it's really important to note first off, before we get too deep into this, if we do, that all of the racism and homophobia and all that shit, right, that has been uncovered lately, that has made everyone so fucking upset, as they should be, with these officers in Antioch, especially. All of that came to light because of this investigation about falsifying evidence and all sorts of bullshit, right? All sorts of crazy, corrupt cop bullshit. So all that may not have come to light at all had it not been for this investigation into some equally shady shit, right? And yet it's sort of like, that's all ho hum. Well, we expect that. Those things came to light, those texts and tweets or whatever came to light, and we expect that, right? But it's seeing it is definitely traumatizing, but it's something we come to expect. But it wouldn't have been found out really, and we wouldn't have been so outraged about that if it first hadn't been this, right? The depth of just the cowboy attitude, right? And the above the law, I'm the marshal and no one fucking can put the marshal in jail, right? Attitude. It's just pervasive, right? Like it's everywhere in these departments because of the power that we give folks without checking it, right? With the power we give to people without putting any sort of accountability or balances into place. These people have guns and batons and pepper spray and body armor and tanks and
megaphones,
all manner of megaphones, right? That's the frightening thing is that how unchecked all of this is, right? And we expect somehow, we're supposed to default to, oh yes, public safety. God bless our first responders. They're doing they're doing the good duty to keep us safe that none of us are going to do. They're putting their lives on the line, and that's all true to some extent, right? There's some layer of truth to that, but it just adds so much more layers of bullshit when this kind of crap comes to light, right? And yeah, I'd like to blame it on just a bunch of white Yahoo cops, but it's just pervasive. It seems to be pervasive. It's just the attitude of folks who go into the profession. Maybe, I don't know.
It's a lot of that. The new people who go in to that profession, if they're decent people, unfortunately they get fucking kicked out the top of the funnel. I mean, it's just the culture doesn't allow for good people to be in these organizations. But the Antioch one is like just above and beyond just your normal cop shit. My God.
Right. Yeah, it's just and the scale of it with relation to the department, right? I think we've had previous stories on Downballot where they were talking about like 40% of the department was involved, right, and then was on leave because of it, and the threat that actually does cause to public safety, right? Like, because some layer of public safety, or at least awareness of there being a layer, is required to maintain the peace, no matter how peaceful your community is. We're people, we're humans, right? The scale of it compared to the size of the city is just unbelievable. It's just so pervasive. And I would be just as upset as the mayor has been. And we've seen him practically in hysterics, right? Like just frustrated. And I would be too if I was the mayor. I mean, good Lord, the levels of hypocrisy and assholery that's happening out there. But yes, God, the fucking world's smallest violin is playing for this cop who's upset about the FBI using a megaphone when they came to get him at 5 a.m. for being a racist, homophobic, corrupt cop who's trying to falsify evidence and falsely imprison people. Oh, God forbid they use a megaphone, right? You didn't get shot with rubber bullets. You didn't get shot with real bullets. They didn't break down your door and just randomly, indiscriminately shoot everyone, right? Which happens all the time. You've done it yourself, officer.
I mean, the flashbangs are a little over the top, I think. Who fucking knows? You know what I'm saying? Who fucking knows what their investigation of this particular cop led them to believe might happen. Yeah. I mean, I'm not here defending the FBI and throwing flashbangs into people's houses and shit, but the FBI tends not to be a bunch of cowboy yahoos.
Right. I mean, if I was this guy's wife and I just put down the baby, right? Or if I was this guy's husband and I just put down the baby, then I would be really fucking upset if there were flashbangs going off at 5 a.m. waking the baby up. But that's why I'd be pissed off. If anything, you have a right to be pissed off with the loudness and whatever, and maybe you would have just surrendered. Okay, fine. But don't have your attorney go on TV whining about how it was, unconscionable. Good Lord, what a bad look, right? For what you're being indicted for. Just shut the fuck up. I can't believe our attorney didn't say just shut the fuck up. I'm not going on fucking TV and saying that.
That was the attorney that went on. Yeah, that was.
Yeah, right. I can't believe the attorney didn't advise them. No, I'm not going on TV to fucking whine for you. No, you're going to shut the fuck up. We're going to go to court. You're going to get off because you're a cop, and cops get off. So just shut the fuck up in the meantime.
Right.
Simple stuff.
She could have just stopped at, we didn't expect, it to go down like this. He would have turned himself in. Just leave it at that.
We're glad they've done that. But we're looking forward to exonerating him or proving, his
right. She didn't take that time to she could have even taken that time to say, well, we look forward to the facts coming out in this case. And the kind of things that a lawyer's fucking supposed to say, not whang.
Right. Man. So it all came across as Karen, whining for Karen the cop, or Morteza the cop.
Speaking of cops,
Anyway.
the former mayor of Campbell and now state assemblyman Evan Lowe says his brother was an officer who pulled a partner to safety in an ambush. I don't know. We'll watch this story. I guess this guy can't be as terrible a cop as the one who got arrested in Antioch.
Hopefully not.
Imagine.
Hopefully not.
Well, who knows though? Who knows? This guy's probably done some shit too.
Well,
The
that's
police
Kevin.
chief, Anthony Mata, called the actions of the second officer a, quote, undeniable act of courage few will ever experience. South Bay Assemblyman Evan Lowe says his brother Ryan Lowe is the officer who pulled his injured partner to safety this morning. We spoke with Evan Lowe tonight to get his reaction to his brother pulling his partner out from the line of fire.
Mike, even just as I talk to you, I'm shivering. I'm quickly going to be rushing down from Sacramento to give my brother a big hug, my older brother a big hug, and hold him as long as I can. There will be a time and a place to recap all of this, but you can imagine that the next days and hours for him and so many will be very perilous to relive and to think about what actually happened.
The chief of police said the actions of Officer Lowe surely contributed to both of them surviving the ambush attack.
Without hesitation or consideration for himself, the officer's partner extracted the victim officer from the line of fire to a place of safety where he began to treat her injuries.
Officer Lowe has been in law enforcement for 10 years, 6 with the San Jose Police Department.
Okay.
So yeah, this is a rare winners item for the docket here, but I think it leads somewhat into the next story. But good on Assemblymember Lowe's bro for stepping up and protecting his mate. This has been in the news quite a bit lately. At least the incident itself has been in the news quite a bit, not necessarily the
we probably
elected connection.
Did we miss it because we didn't do down ballot last week, or did I just miss it because I've been busy and not following the news?
It's recent. It's been it was on the cusp of sort of the last week, but over the weekend, I think, maybe early this week. So, but yeah, the long story short, there was an ambush attack of however you want to define that, of a San Jose police officer, a female officer. She was shot, I guess, outside of her vest. She's in the hospital now, recovering. But Evan Lowe's brother is her partner, and was there on the scene, Johnny on the spot, and was able to at least assist her until the paramedics arrived. But good on him. And so a good story. I wanted to follow up with a story about some god fucking awful cops, with at least a story about one cop who did well. But also there is a loser aspect to this in terms of cops getting ambushed in the first place, especially in San Jose, and just another sign that there is definitely some. I don't put this at all to the economy or whatever, the situation out there we're dealing with poverty and whatnot. I don't ascribe crime to that. This is, I think, much more about the friction that's developed and the distrust that's developed between and continues to develop and has been there since the beginning between police and the policed, right? Especially the communities that are over policed, right? So I don't think this is the end. I don't think this is the last time you'll see something like this. I think you're going to see more interactions and more confrontations, unfortunately, and yet to be seen what the consequences will be. So,
yep. Well, our next story is an odd one to see based on just socioeconomic factors. So I just wonder,
right?
I want this the name of the title here is San Jose ranks second in top U.S. cities to raise a family. And my question is, for who?
For people who like museums and, strollers. I don't know.
And have 2 six-figure incomes.
There you go. That's right.
Okay, well let's see what the news has to say about this.
Fabulous. Hopefully it's the Monica.
17, but the Bay Area's biggest city has just been named one of the top places to raise a family. U.S. News and World Report looked at several factors for the list, including the cost of living, average salary, and quality of high school educations. With those ratings, San Jose came in as the second best city to raise a family. Number 1, Huntsville, Alabama. San Jose earned a high ranking for having the best college readiness among high school students. No other California city made the top 25 list.
Well, second only to Huntsville, Alabama.
Yeah, I know. We're coming for you, Huntsville. I didn't catch all of the factors that came into play there, but yeah, I didn't hear like cost of living really, or I mean, it sounded more like quality of life issues, right? Not necessarily cost of life.
So, I mean, I guess you average salary versus cost of living, but I just wonder like how they like for I'm just confused because I feel like there's a lot of places where it's much more affordable, and there's like more stuff for families to do. Like San Jose is kind of dull for like there's like there's the tech museum and the Children's Discovery Museum and what else?
There's quite a few. I mean, there's actually quite a bit of stuff. I mean, Happy Hollow, you could go into a lot. There's quite a bit of stuff out there for families to do, right? Like the quality of life, frankly, is not necessarily the issue, right? Like we talked about it before. This is a very safe city, first and foremost, right? Like we don't need a very large police force. We haven't needed it, and we're not falling into the great abyss because we don't have a huge police force, because this community is relatively safe and we look out for each other, and it's generally a safe community. It's suburban-esque. So there's that aspect that's good for families. Then, yeah, there's Children's Discovery Museum, the tech. There's a lot of there are actually a lot of ways to engage. A lot of great programs out there. A lot of youth programs, youth arts programs, music programs, and good public schools for the most part. Like we complain, a lot of folks complain about them a lot, but it's actually pretty decent in terms of our public school districts here, and in San Jose especially. So there's a lot of good for them. But yeah, the bottom line for me, being a parent now, right, with Bad Baby, I'll give you an example. Like you go traveling right now, you pack a bag for yourself, you get in a plane, you get in the car, whatever, you're gone, and that's fine. Nowadays, for me, it's like I get half a bag for myself. I have to split the other bag with the good wife, and then Bad Baby gets like 5 bags, right? It's an expense. There's an expense. There's all sorts of additional costs that go with having a family, right? And if you have multiple bad babies, good baby, bad baby, whatever, you want to play them off each other, then it's more expense, right? So the economics to me are the number one thing if we're talking about raising a family, good place to raise a family, because you have to be able to afford it first and foremost, whether or not there's amenities and all the fun stuff and all the quality of life stuff. You need to be able to afford the cost of life, and it's incredibly every day more and more progressively unaffordable for a family to live and to maintain and to stay here in Silicon Valley, unless you're making, like you said, the double 6-figure tech salaries, right? And frankly, I look around and the friends I have who are still here and raising families, that's what they're making, right? That's what mom and dad are making both are making in the 6 figures, because that's what it costs to it's just to rent. Forget owning a home, just renting, and raising a family. So yeah, it's a fucking pain in the ass to do it financially, but you do it because you want to. But it's like we're punishing almost families these days with just the added burdens we put on them.
Well, that was a surprising story. I don't know off the top of my head, but I can't imagine that there's just got to be so many places where it's just so much more affordable to have a family, where there's like decent enough jobs and the cost of living is like where houses are like half or sometimes even a third what they cost in San Jose. And it's like,
sure.
It's like, yo.
Yeah. But, less and less, right? Like, I think that, I know those places exist, right? In the exurbs and sort of the more, not rural, but, rural and non-city places out there. Yeah, it's still somewhat affordable relative to here, though, but it's all relative, right? It's all scaling up. It's all ramping up, and slowly but surely there won't be no affordability left anywhere, because places like ours, land in places like ours with temperate climates, right? As climate change continues to impact everyone and people are fleeing their native lands because of climate change and heat, right? our land's going to become more desirable, and there's going to be more squabbling over it, and more cost of living increases, and it's just going to become more expensive to live anywhere in North America, period, let alone the Bay Area. So it's something that we need to grab a hold of now and solve for now, and we're just not doing that, unfortunately. But we are talking. But we like to pat ourselves on the back and say, "Oh, there's like lots of things for people to do, and lots of college graduates." So therefore, it's a good place to raise a family.
So we got our next story. It's this lady again, the self-driving car lady who she was like, I had to walk 5 minutes from where my car dropped me off to my destination.
And I'm very upset about it. But we're going to find out more about a recent experience that she had rolling around in a cruise self-driving car. I'm guessing it didn't go well for her.
So this is like deja vu all over again. We tried to get dropped off at the Randall Museum with Waymo. Didn't work. They don't even go there. Now we're going to try cruise. Guess what? They don't go there either. It's outside of their map area. So here's the goods. My son, he is ready to try another one, cruise, to see how it's going. So
I thought this guy was like a hip DJ or something. I didn't know.
Okay, meet at your pickup spot in 6 minutes. Okay. Here it is. Yay.
That's so weird. That's just a robot.
Oh. See, it's going far.
Let's find a safe place to park.
Okay. Didn't get us to the address where we wanted to, but that's okay. Woo!
I'm pretty sure it would have waited for you if you didn't run.
For crew support, press the square button on the ceiling above you.
It's just kind of surreal.
Look at the steering wheel. Look at the steering wheel. It's freaky.
It's just kind of.
It's a self-driving car.
I've heard about the idea of self-driverless cars for years. Google's been developing it since I was in like middle school, but it's weird to actually see it now.
It doesn't scare you that there's nobody there?
No. He drives better than me.
How about your dad?
Better than Dad?
His
I'll
dad
say more,
drives terribly.
I'll say less recklessly.
See, she's already copying to it. Humans are worthless.
The handbook of driving to a T. But I just don't think a lot of young people want to support this technology. I was just talking about it with two friends, and both of them were like, yeah, just AI in general scares me, and I think it's mostly the loss of jobs. I was like, you don't have to fear anything for another 10 years. And she's like, yeah, but I'll be alive in 10 years.
Wouldn't this be the perfect way for moms to get their kids to school so they don't have to do it?
As a kid, imagine not having those like conversations with your mom like on the way to school or wherever. It just like getting in the AI car like with your brother. That's so depressing.
Sterile?
Yeah.
Nice mustache. I was gonna say it.
Would you say that San Francisco is ready for this?
Why does SF need it? Why do we need this?
Why do we need you?
Like I don't think it's a specific SF
in this story.
When you ride an Uber and a Lyft, the reason why you pay so much is because you got to pay the company and you got to pay that guy behind the wheel. There is no person behind the wheel.
You just pay the company.
Yeah.
So it's cheaper, yeah.
If this costs you the same as, let's say, catching a bus, which is what, $2.50, would you do this instead of the bus?
Yeah, but I think that there's a lot of issues that come before then. If you have this 40 people that are on a bus that are now in cars, traffic is even more jammed up.
I mean, the city is jammed already.
Yeah, but it would add a lot of congestion.
Wow. Do you see that? It's blocking.
Yeah, it's blocking the intersection.
Oh man, wow.
It's reacting like a human being would be by blocking.
The guy on the bike's like, fuck you.
This is supposed to be supposedly super safe. Wow, are you noticing that kind of like going back and forth in this lane? At first, to me, it feels like, oh, this is kind of cool. And then it makes mistakes. And then I start feeling not that cool and secure.
I love how journalistic the story is.
Well, as I discovered, it doesn't take us all the way home. Home is just outside of the mapping area.
Okay, well,
So here we are again. Not where we want to be.
In the safest place to park.
We've arrived. Thanks for riding with Cruise.
Like the car was seriously looking for a safe place to park. I'm pretty sure. Like, oh, there's people parked there. Oh, there's people. I'm not going to double park. I'm not going to block traffic. I can't block traffic. Oh, here's a place to park and let people off safely. Right?
You know what probably stops right in front of the fucking museum?
Your feet or your bike.
The bus.
Or the bus. The bus.
I bet the bus stops right in front of the fucking museum.
Beep beep. Yeah, for sure, man. Good Lord. This is what a dumb. Just the loser here is everyone who, like, including us, who had to spend a couple minutes watching the story,
right,
to the journalist who just is not very much of a journalist. Like, good Lord, like, how much worse can you get than enlisting your son with the awful, like, fake, cosplay porn mustache, to validate your story? Like, you couldn't find another millennial or Gen whatever to Gen Zer to back you up on this story, like, and all you're doing is complaining. Like, so both services didn't go to this museum. Maybe you're not typing in the right address. Maybe, like, the museum name isn't correct. Like, I don't know. Maybe that's just not accessible by a car. Maybe like a bus or your bike or your feet might be the better option to get you there. But yeah, it's just stupid. Someone who's got some sort of problem with it and wants to do a story about it, and their producer let them do it. That's the sad part.
Yeah, like it seems like this gal's beat now is just getting in a driverless car and complaining about it, right?
Sure. And frankly, like, Big Ed Chaban's been able to, like, make a career out of just putting himself on camera, beating up on homeless people and folks who are experiencing major mental trauma, right? So if he can do it, why can't I? That sort of seems like the attitude here.
I hate to see what this lady. She should try the bus. Go there on the bus. She'd complain about the bus. Oh my God, what would she say? Right. She'd be like, "People ride this."
Yeah, it smells like pee sometimes. And I've seen people, like, who don't look like me on the bus. I don't know where they're going, but we're on the bus, and I can't escape sometimes. I feel like sometimes I'm trapped.
I wonder if she ever takes the underground, the Muni.
Ooh, wouldn't we like to go underground?
I like the Muni, actually, in San Francisco.
I do dig it. And that is the Central Subway.
Yep.
All the way to, so can't wait to use that. That'll be fun.
So up next, a story we've been covering. The board, there's a high school, I forget where it is now, Concord High, the Minutemen. I guess they're changing the mascot from the Minutemen, which they vote. Yeah. I guess they were gonna, and then they weren't gonna, and then they were gonna. They
kind of can't make up their minds. They can't make up their minds about this shit, but it's Concord, which is actually Antioch adjacent, so that maybe says a lot about the story.
Maybe that guy looks like a cop. We need to change. That guy's falsifying records when he's not standing on this.
But the school board finally stepped up and have officially changed the name, so we're going to find out more about that decision here and any fallout they might be experiencing.
The Concord High Minutemen are no more. By a vote of 4-1, the board of the Mount Diablo Unified School District voting Wednesday to approve a new mascot for the school. Starting next year, they'll become the Bears.
What I support is making sure that our students feel connected to our schools, that students have a voice, and that students go through a process.
Adam Clark is the district superintendent. He says discussions over the change have been happening for years after the district decided to replace human mascots with non-human ones. The goal was to make them more inclusive.
It's a time for new attitudes, and if changing a mascot will make students feel welcome, embraced, and empower them to participate more at their school, then I will support this.
One of the concerns among those who called for change is the Minutemen holding a musket at a time where school shootings are top of mind for many students. Other issues come from the use of the word men.
With the term men, then what about our female students they're not represented.
Not everyone agrees with the changes, though. Matthew Dashner is a recent graduate who was on the student committee involved in the mascot change. He says even though the student body voted to become the Bears, he believes that was only because the status quo wasn't an option.
They never asked us if we liked our current mascot or if we wanted to change it. We were just told that it had to change.
The cost to change the mascot is estimated to be around $200,000.
What?
Money that Dashner believes could be better spent improving student life in other ways.
It's kind of the identity of our teams. We fight even when we're down and the odds are stacked against us. We just keep fighting and keep going.
Getting to see Cocaine Bear.
Our country was created, the Minutemen.
In Concord, Tim Johns, ABC 7 News.
The Concord Cocaine Bears. I think that would be a much better mascot, Producer Dave. I think that's a great idea. We should recommend it to the school board. 4-1. I wonder who the one was that dissented. They didn't really get their dissenting opinion into this story.
I don't know. I like first of all, that young man is not going to the school anymore, so he doesn't have doesn't have a dog or a bear in the fight.
I was going to say, hey, Boy Meets World called. They want their haircut back.
Oh, that was a very Boy Meets World haircut. Yeah. Not the main character, his best friend, right?
Yeah, Ryder Strong. Yeah, center cut. The Sean character. Yeah, the center crop or center part. Anyway, yeah,
very. All the kids on Home Improvement had that haircut too.
Yeah, the JTT right special. But anyway, yeah, that was the first thing that struck me about that guy, which is exactly why. I mean, he's really the reason why this story is even on the docket. We could have just sort of updated you and said, "Hey, they're now the Bears." But I really felt the need to show this story because I wanted to show the dissenting view, and the opposing view. But they didn't get the board member who dissented, the one and in what their reasoning was. It could have been perfectly legitimate reasoning or something. Maybe they didn't go far enough with their name change, and Bears is too, centric to mammals. Maybe they were looking out for like the insects and the fungi out there.
That'd be great if they were just called the Concord insects.
The Concord insects. I do like this movement to name things after human things. That's kind of cool. Although you never know. You don't want to meet your heroes, right? What could happen, right? Like for example, the Bears, right? Cocaine Bear, right? Who knows what other deep, dark secrets are lurking in the hearts of other animals that you might name your school, like the sharks, right? The sharks eat people, I think. So that's dangerous.
Yeah. I don't care. I can't. I don't know why it costs this much. I guess they got to redo their stationery and all that.
Yeah,
shit.
I know. 100%. That's entirely what it is. Having been in branding and public information for school districts that were going through a process of just redoing the school district's logo, right? Talking about across many schools and different departments and whatnot, and getting everyone to update all their shit, right? Yeah, letterhead, pens, stamps, envelopes, brochures, website, social media. Any document at all that goes along with the school, right? Like enrollment forms and time cards, and don't forget every department's jacket, right?
As far as things like pens and stationery and all that stuff go, I would be, even if you have to change the mascot, why not just use what you have until you run out and print? Because it's mostly for inner office stuff or communication. Nobody's going to care.
That's generally how it goes anyway, because that's just how school districts operate. They're always trying to save as much money as possible anyway. So something like this, here's the directive, right? We are changing the mascot at the school. And now it comes to implementation, right? Well, the implementation is going to happen completely haphazardly and piecemeal over time whenever they have the money, right? They're not going to drop $200,000 tomorrow or in the budget to do this. It's going to be paced out over time. That's what it would cost, if you paid for it all right now. That's what it costs. But it's going to be paced out over time. And also think about logos for trucks and cars and the fleet, right? And all the things need to be done. But they can space it out. But that sounds about right for what it would cost to get all that material done. But yeah, you're right. Just use it until you don't need it anymore. And most likely, most stuff is just geared around colors and the school name, not the mascot anyway.
Well, One of our favorite genres of story is car versus house or car versus building, or car versus, we'll say car versus structure. And in this case, it looks like the structure is there's somebody's house, I guess, got hit by a car a bunch of different times, and they decided to put up some armor, do some preventative strike on the.
There you go.
So yeah, this is in Concord. The house that keeps getting hit by cars. Apparently, they put in a protective barrier. We'll see what's going on here. I love these stories.
So much happening.
Okay, fed up and taking matters into his own hands, a man in Concord says his house has been crashed into by wayward cars time and time again. So tonight, there's a wall of protection around his house. Here's NBC Bay Area's Jody Hernandez.
Every 5 feet under that wall, every place where you see something that looks like a post, there's a drilled pier 4 feet deep with rebar going down into the ground. So that wall is not moving.
Concord homeowner Frank Dodd is finally feeling a sense of relief now that he's gotten permission to build a concrete wall in front of his rental home. 2 months ago, his longtime tenant, Emma Holst, got hit when a wayward car crashed into the living room.
I guess I jumped quick enough and jumped off of the couch and got out of the way. I don't know how.
It's like a cat.
It was a miracle, actually.
And it wasn't the first time. The homeowner says cars
she was ready for
crashed onto the property about a half dozen times since he's owned it. But he says the city wouldn't let him build a barrier.
Before they said that if I built a wall and somebody crashed into it, that I'd be liable, and they didn't want to do it because they didn't want to be liable.
It wasn't until NBC Bay Area's story about the close call in June and a harsh letter from Dodd that the city finally had a change of heart.
But this time, since somebody almost got killed, I think they figured out that, you know, whether the crazy reckless driver gets killed or the innocent person that gets in the house gets killed, it's better to protect the innocent person in the house.
Dodd's still finishing up the repairs from the accident. He says his former tenant was too scared to move back in, but he hopes the wall will give his future tenants
probably also raised her rent.
The house is to be a secure living space for people. I mean, it's supposed to be a home. It's got enough steel in it that I don't think there's going to be any cars get through it, so the house is secure now.
Dodd says all the crashes have cost him tens of thousands of dollars, while he thinks the city could do more to help, allowing him to build the walls a good start.
All I can say is it's about time.
We reached out to the city of Concord about the hurdles Dodd says he's had to jump through to build the wall, but got no response. Jody Hernandez, NBC Bay Area News.
How the fuck, like, the city told this guy, I mean, whatever, I don't fuck landlords, but the city told this guy that he might be liable if somebody crashes into the wall that he built in front of his house. It's like, what the wall was just there minding its own fucking business, and then you crashed into it.
And I don't understand that at all. So if the wall isn't there and they randomly crash into the house, is he suddenly liable for that too? Since that's his structure, right? Like something that he owns on the property. This is very, very shoddy logic on behalf of the city of Concord. I don't know who to complain to, but I would definitely complain about something to someone because that's just ridiculous. But
somebody in chat just said, "Isn't a house really just a fancy wall?"
I was gonna say you were saying like that the lady who nearly died there, like, you know, I'm guessing her cat-like reflexes are a result of having this happen before in the same space, right? And just being like sort of constantly ready for a car to come crashing into the living room at any time.
That she didn't move back in. No shit, she didn't move back in. She's like you. Well, first of all, it wasn't fit to be moved back in when we
once
right. Well, when we saw the inside of the house in the news, right, it wasn't fit to be moved back in anyway. It was still being worked on, and so maybe like part of her logic in not moving back in is it's going to take a few months to fix this place, and I need to live somewhere, and so I'm going to have to like sign a lease somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, unless he was super cool and offered to put her up in a hotel or some shit, but I don't think like not very likely.
Not very likely. I'm guessing this is naturally affordable housing, so it's a shame that would have come off the market. So it's good that he's protecting it and he's protecting his tenants. So hopefully not having to raise the rent to pay for the wall.
Yeah, that might be why she didn't move back in. He's like, actually, this is an improvement. I'm going to raise your rent. Now you don't have to have cat-like reflexes to not get hit by a car. Your rent's going up $300.
We're going to build a wall, and my tenant is going to pay for it.
That joke was just hanging there. I should have grabbed it.
It's out of here. Oh, okay.
All right.
Anyway,
so we're going to move on to get
here.
your shit together, and the segment used to be called San Francisco Get Your Shit Together, and it's more and more about San Francisco lately. So looks like the population of San Francisco is shrinking, and then there's some weird birth rate shit here that I'm a little anytime anybody starts talking about birth rate, my fucking spidey sense goes off. So let's see what's going on here.
San Francisco's population is shrinking.
Birds have been declining in the city. So we're seeing right now a little bit over 7,000 birds a year. And we expect that to decline to roughly around 6,000 in the next 40 years.
According to the latest data from the state's Department of Finance, there are two factors working together towards this decline.
Women and families overall are choosing to have smaller families. And the second is that women are starting to have children at later ages, which in turn means they have less time to have more children.
According to the state's demographer, they're projecting San Francisco will have more people dying due to age than babies will be born by 2025.
As the population gets older, you're going to see higher death counts just because there's more people over 70, 80 than before.
The Children's Council of San Francisco says the cost of living continues to push families out of the city.
Housing is really a big problem, and we hear that from all our clients and families that we're working with.
According to this nonprofit, 60% of San Francisco children ages 0 to 5 live in a household that struggles to make ends meet.
For families who have children under 5, the cost of childcare is substantial. It can be around 30% of your income, and that's if you're making ends meet, which really requires about $165,000 for a 2-adult household with 2 young kids.
On average, childcare can cost $20,000 to $25,000 a year per child. The Children's Council is hoping their nonprofit can help future families.
The research is showing all sorts of decisions being made by young San Franciscans that they're hesitating to take on the costs of having a family here. And of course, we want the city to be family friendly.
Well, that didn't get into some weird birth rate shit that I thought it was going to get into, but
Thankfully, no.
the if people can't afford to live somewhere, they're going to move. That's why the population of San Francisco is going down, and that's eventually like something's going to give, right? And then it's as more and more people leave, it's going to hopefully maybe housing won't go down, but housing might flat, end up flat. Even as inflation goes up, maybe the housing prices will remain stable for a while as more people leave San Francisco.
Yeah. And in general, it does fluctuate like that with cities, up and down. Affordability goes up and down, economics go up and down, and people come in and come out. And overall, on the long haul, right, the long curve is upward. The long trend is upward, and we are going to keep growing the longer people live, right? Theoretically, and the more that they propagate themselves and perpetuate themselves and procreate. But yeah, I think we're seeing a couple things happening, at least here, right? We have to look at this in a bubble. This is absolutely not some sort of thing that's descriptive or definitive of humanity as a whole, right? In San Francisco right now. But because of the cost of living here, because of a lot of factors, in terms of the way that young people and generations are looking at family life and child rearing and having a family and when to start a family. We're actually seeing a lowered birth rate. We're seeing a greater exodus from the area, and that's leading to population declines. And at some point, you're right. I think it could have a greater impact on the cost of living that makes it more affordable, and then you see an influx of back of people, and those things are to be expected. Unfortunately, what we're dealing with right now is just such stark inequality and such stark difference between the haves and the have-nots, and there's really nothing in the middle at all. So you're just left with these really homogenized communities and these places that only the super rich can afford to live in, or if you're not super rich, you're living somewhere out in the boondocks, and commuting for 2 hours both ways every day, and that's your life, right? This is not a surprising news necessarily, especially given the cost of living in San Francisco. But San Jose is not immune to it. Even Oakland is not immune to it. California is not immune to it, period, as a state. It's something we have to grapple with right now, because a lot of our planning is also dictated around growth. And I think that growth is still coming. It's just that right now, in this moment, we're seeing the results of a lot of different factors coming to bear.
I think San Francisco should just pay people to leave. If they complain about the city, they should just be like, here's 50 grand, get the fuck out. Somebody else that actually wants to live here can move into where you live, asshole.
Universal basic fuck off income.
Yeah. Because I mean, like, seriously, like, I mean, if I could live anywhere in the world, it might be San Francisco. And like, I cannot afford it. And like, there's people that live there that just complain about it. And it's like, well, then what the fuck are you doing there? Leave, go move to fucking Fremont. Like,
right. Like, even what we've spoken about a lot in this show before is, the noise or the turbulence or the helicopters or the police or the whatever, the loud people or the unhoused or the encampments, whatever it is, your quote unquote blight issue, right? On Nextdoor, and how, oh my God, like, God forbid you live in a city of 1 million people that these things, are a reality for you. We're so sorry about that. That's the attitude, right? It's like, get out. Move to Los Banos, move to somewhere else, right? Move to Bodega Bay if you really are like,
or even like, even like,
best.
Like if you're in San Francisco and you think it's just too much, San Jose's right there.
Yeah, right. Like, downgrade a little bit, or downscale a little bit your noise factor.
You get a much bigger place in San Jose, especially if you're willing to like live in the burbs, like the South Side or whatever, man.
Totally. And we'll help you out. We'll find a realtor for you. Come check with Downballot Realty.
We know
we look out for our one.
I know of a house in San Jose that's probably going to be on the market soon, but it should probably be condemned. So it's a bit of a fixer-upper opportunity.
And you might find like some random old Echoplex Media stickers on the table in the back patio when you move in. Yeah. All included. Luckily,
I got all the cables out of there. There might have been 2,000 feet of cable in that fucking room. Anyway, we're going to move on to a down ballot watch, where these stories are more, I guess, specifically political and about local government and the goings on in local government. So this first one is the group demanding the recall of the Alameda County DA, Pamela Price. They filed paperwork for the ballot measure. So Recalifornia is what we'll call it now.
The effort to oust Alameda County DA Pamela Price, and it just took a major step forward. Today, members of the group backing the recall filed paperwork to officially start the process of getting it on the ballot. Price is 7 months into her tenure and has already become a lightning rod in this heated conversation about criminal justice reform and public safety. Price ran on a platform emphasizing restorative justice policies, including reducing sentences for younger offenders, eliminating most sentencing enhancements, and holding law enforcement accountable. But critics of Price say she's too lenient on violent criminals. And Katie Nielsen reports the victims of some high-profile cases are putting their voices behind this recall.
Lori Mose came to the registrar's office here in Oakland today looking for justice. Justice for the murder of her son, something she says is not going to happen so long as Pamela Price is still in office.
Pamela Price is directly choosing to not charge properly in my son's case.
Blake Moe's mother, Lori, has been a driving force behind SAFE, or Save Alameda County for Everyone, where she and others in the group have filed paperwork showing the intent to recall current district attorney Pamela Price. Blake Mose was shot and killed by a suspected shoplifter 4 months ago as he was working as a loss prevention officer at the Home Depot in Pleasanton. Since then, his mother, Lori, says DA Price is going easy on the female suspect in her son's case, not charging her with robbery or adding sentence enhancement that would mean more jail time if she's convicted.
I think that she is really advocating more for the accused than she is the victims.
Some families of victims believe Price has been pushing for the shortest possible sentences. But Price said in a sit-down interview last month with our Betty Yu that she does not believe in adding sentence enhancements.
anytime that we can divert someone from the criminal justice system, that is a goal, because the criminal justice system has been shown to be racially biased.
But recall organizers say Price's brand of reform just isn't working.
When we're talking about reform, it does not mean it's a destruction. Reform means to make it better, but it's not making it better.
We reached out to Pamela Price's campaign multiple times today asking for comment on the recall effort, but no one responded to our requests.
Of course, Price also has her supporters. The co-founder of the Anti-Police Terror Project is calling the recall effort, quote, politically and racially motivated. Kat Brooks sent us a statement saying, in part, it's an attack on a democratically elected black woman. The folks behind this are the same folks who ran for election and lost. They're drumming up law and order hysteria and striking fear into our communities. There are real public safety issues at stake, and I hope the people Alameda County see through these malicious attacks. So even though the paperwork was filed, it's still a long road to the ballot. The recall group needs 98,000 verified signatures from the Alameda County voters within about 6 months.
I think they'll get those signatures and it'll get on the ballot, but I don't know. I think I think enough people like live in Oakland and Berkeley who are going to be supportive of the DA. And I think enough people like sort of down South County, sort of like where I live, don't give a fuck and probably aren't going to vote, aren't going to care enough to vote, like to recall. You know what I'm saying? Like,
sure, yeah. It depends when it's on the ballot. If it's in November next year, then she's in decent shape because that's the kind of the electorate that got her elected in the first place. And yeah, frankly, I think people are just sick and tired of these things. And Chesa Boudin made a nice example, a nice target, a nice pincushion for those folks in San Francisco. I don't think the same thing applies here. And that last argument you saw was just dead on, right? Like, my God, this is like there's a way you solve these things. It's at the ballot box, and she won based on the exact thing she's doing. So she's doing her job. So you're I don't know what you're complaining about exactly. You don't like the way she's doing her job, then run for the office yourself. That's sort of my attitude. But no one's going to do that. And so just more of a PSA, just for everyone who does vote up in Alameda County, be aware.
And for the fucking love of all that is whatever, if you were working somewhere, anywhere, and somebody robs or burgles the place, ain't worth your life. I don't care if you're loss prevention, if you're security, ain't worth your life. I'm not blaming the victim here. This person should not have been shot while they were fucking working. But ain't worth your life. Yeah. And any company that tells you that you are to intervene in a violent situation is a company you should refuse to work for.
100%. Absolutely.
And I guarantee the Home Depot's policy on this is not intervene if you see violence. It is observe and report like a security guard. And yeah, this person got fucking murdered over $15 an hour or $20 an hour. So that's bad. This is bad all around. And but I learned that Pleasanton is in Alameda County. For some reason, I thought it was in Contra Costa County.
It's in that sort of interstitial area. It's right on the border-ish kind of. Contra Costa is a little more northern. So Alameda reaches over into that Tri-Valley area. I don't know if it goes as far as Livermore, but it certainly reaches into that space.
For some reason, I thought the hills were the divider, but I guess I'm wrong.
Oh, don't let the hills get in the way of a good county.
All right, we got San Jose considering launching its own electric utility, which is good because when I lived in South San Jose, the power just went out like all the fucking time. Actually,
and it's expensive. You pay a lot of money for the power to go out too. So
yeah. It's actually crazy. I just real quick, I saw the PG&E bill here. It is so low.
Mm-hmm.
I don't. It's still PG&E, but I maybe the city of Fremont steps on them and tells them like they can't. There's something going on because it's very. I mean, there was just one person living here before us, but still, $56.
Damn, you got some of that clean energy or something.
Something's up. Anyway, San Jose's thinking of launching its own electric utility, and I'm actually all for municipalities and counties doing things like their own water, their own electricity. And hopefully, maybe San Jose's next step would be municipal fiber.
Ooh, that would be nice. Google
Anyway,
offered
let's
it.
see what NBC Bay Area has to say about this.
New for you this morning, the city of San Jose could take a big step towards setting up its own electric utility.
Today in the Bay's Bob Riddell joins us live this morning. So what's behind this potential move?
Well, good morning to you, Laura Marcus. The city of San Jose believes PG&E will be too slow to electrify new developments within the city limits. So this afternoon, the San Jose City Council will vote on an ordinance that, if passed, would amend the municipal code to allow the city to establish, quote, San Jose Power. This would be a new utility to provide electricity for future housing, industrial areas, and transportation in North San Jose and around downtown. The city is concerned that PG&E is unreliable, backlogged with too many other projects, and doesn't have the money to electrify future development in a timely manner. The city would build and operate power lines off of 2 new high-voltage transmission lines, as you can see on the maps there on your screen. These are scheduled to be complete in 2028. One line would run from the Metcalf area of South San Jose up to a substation in the southern part of downtown. The other one would run through Alviso. Now, the city estimates it could lower the cost of electricity for these new customers by 15 to 25% because the city would be exempt from state and federal taxes, wouldn't have to worry about shareholder returns. Also, the city's cost of borrowing would be lower since municipalities are tax exempt. PG&E is against this proposal.
Oh, you think?
Gave me a copy of this letter that I sent yesterday to the city of San Jose. The utility questions whether the city would actually be able to provide lower rates given the costs of starting up a new utility. Wonders if the city can recruit a qualified workplace to run the new grid. The utility acknowledges it has experienced challenges in delivering new service, in part because of the historic winter storms this past December and January, but notes that by the end of June, all those connections that were delayed by the rains were complete. The IBEW, Local 1245, which represents 27,000 electrical workers, also against this proposal for San Jose Power. The union sent a letter to the city expressing concern that a San Jose Power would displace members already working for PG&E. Reporting live, Bob Riddell, today in the Bay.
Unless there's something I don't understand, why wouldn't those people be the first in line to apply for jobs with the city power?
They will be. That's one of those things you call like an opening salvo, right? Like at the end of the day, I think the unions would be in favor of this because it would actually allow them more opportunity to lobby for their members, right? And for better wages and benefits and living conditions for their members. Because the city would be their employer as opposed to PG&E or some other sort of private entity, right? They have more control over who makes those decisions, right? So they could get more involved in local elections. They will eventually be on board once there are provisions put into place as to, first out the door, first in the door for, new hires, that kind of thing. But more than likely that would be some sort of provision that gets put into place there to avoid any sort of labor strife that might derail or the proposal.
I'm like I said, this is good. But one of the things that I noticed, not necessarily for residential, but for business, the internet in San Jose is hot garbage. There were places that we had a warehouse for my last business where our option was the fastest we could get was like bonded DSL, like 2 phone lines. And it was like, it was like, and I'm not kidding you, it was like right along 880, O'Toole Avenue, if you've ever been over kind of off of First Street. Like we're talking North First Street area where all these businesses are. Now the big businesses can just pay money to have one of the ISPs roll out a proper connection to their big, like the Samsung building. I guarantee you they have a couple big fat fiber lines going into that Samsung building. But the smaller and medium-sized businesses, they end up with this shitty, unreliable internet. And it's, this is something that San Jose, especially if they're worried about, getting those buildings filled back up with people and with businesses, because a lot of those buildings post-pandemic, there's a lot of for lease signs if you go through that North First Street area. This is something the city could just, good jobs for people and like just all kinds of benefits for municipal fiber. And I just, a city like San Jose is like prime for it because because one of the things that people don't realize is that the internet infrastructure, because it was rolled out here first, is old.
Right.
we had it. We're Silicon Valley. We had all that shit first, and it's still there. And some people are still using it.
We're still using that dot matrix shit.
Whereas, like, you know, there's places like places. Where was it? Was it Knoxville, where like 90% of the city has access to fiber internet in fucking Knoxville? I think it was, and it's because they didn't roll out first, and so. And it just drives me mad. And but municipal fiber, municipal power. I think San Jose could. It's not so dense and fucking hilly like San Francisco, so it would be less. It's somebody in the chat said it's Chattanooga. Yeah, I knew it was in Tennessee somewhere. But it's not. It's the challenges for San Jose are nothing like if it was San Francisco to roll out municipal fiber. Holy shit, that would be fucking difficult.
Right.
But you know, San Jose is mostly flat, and there's, you know, a lot of room basically to do this. And yeah, I hope they do this with the power. I hope they do with the power. And I hope that they don't just. I hope that once they do it, I hope that people like it so much that the rest of the city kind of starts demanding that the city take over the power for the whole city. You know,
right. Absolutely. We shall see. It actually happens in Santa Clara. If you're a resident of Santa Clara, they have their own municipal power company.
Yeah.
Silicon Valley Power. And they swear by it. Everyone I know who lives in Santa Clara.
Yeah, people.
Has nothing but good things to say.
I know somebody who lived in Santa Clara who the main reason they didn't want to move from Santa Clara was because they had like municipal power. They like was one of, you know, they ended up having to move, and you know, they may have been like overstating it, but the people there, they do fucking love it. It turns out that like when the city provides you with services, like essential services, and does a good job at it, you want that. You appreciate it, or even better, you don't even think about it until you're like, fuck, I gotta move. Oh man, I'm gonna have to fucking pay 3 times for the electricity bill for PG&E. God damn it.
Yeah, well, so the vote, or not the vote, but the consideration has been deferred until October now. So it's going to be a little while longer that they're going to be thinking about it. So we'll find out more, and we'll bring it to you on Down Ballot when that happens. Well, we'd love to follow up.
Well, we have another thing, and we're right on time actually this week. This is great. So this is great because over this week, on one of my days off, I think it was Tuesday, I got bored and I was like browsing through Amazon Video, and I'm like, you know, I haven't seen Cocaine Bear yet. And I watched that, and then this story shows up on the docket, and I'm like wondering, is that how the bear got to the top of Half Dome?
Did a little cocaine, like found some cocaine in the camper's bag, and like, yeah, I'm gonna fucking Half Dome today. I keep talking about it. I'm gonna do it today. I'm gonna do it. Yeah, so we'll find out what happened.
National Park say they have seen evidence that a black bear climbed to the top of Half Dome. On the park's Facebook page, the rangers say since bears are excellent climbers, it's probably didn't even need to use that 425 feet of cable that leads to the summit of Half Dome. They say the discovery of the bear's presence on Half Dome is a good reminder that bear safety applies everywhere in Yosemite.
That is a good reminder, actually.
Wait a second. So it's a very good reminder. I'm just thinking the phrasing of this, you know, evidence of a bear on top of Half Dome. So obviously they did not see the bear. They saw the evidence of the bear. I'm guessing scat, like did it drop a dump, and they're like, oh, we saw some bear poop. Yeah. Okay. Well, good on the bear. Congratulations for that ascent. It is quite precarious, so be careful, especially in the dark. But you know, bears are built for that shit, so good on them. And that's another thing.
That is another thing. Well, that was fun. And I think we'll be back on Tuesday with another, maybe a shortened episode of Down Ballot, because there'll only be a couple days of news. We'll be back this coming Tuesday, and I do believe after that will be it'll be the first official time that we do the public comment show, as opposed to oftentimes watching local government meetings. We'll actually be kind of officializing it. I'll be kind of poking around maybe for a co-host, maybe you, if you can stick around late some nights, maybe you, and maybe if there's somebody out there who lives in a place where it gets a little spicy at the meetings, maybe you can hit me up out there if you're listening to this and you're like, I don't live in the Bay Area. I got a couple people from Shasta that are probably going to be joining me occasionally, and yeah, it should be fun. So everybody, make sure you're back here on Tuesday. Like I said, it'll probably be a shorter episode of Downballot. Maybe we'll pop into the live San Jose City Council meeting a little bit at the end if we don't have enough. If we can't fill enough of it up, we'll see what's up. But
there you go.
If
we can do that, that'd be a good time. I think it'd be a great segue. So we'll see you next Tuesday.
You want to read this show out?
Sure. Once again, everyone, thanks so much for joining us, listener, viewer. We appreciate you. Please subscribe, do all the things, give us money, go to echoplexmedia.com and find out how you can do that. And in the meantime, producer Dave, thank you for running the dials again. Stay tuned for Conspiracy Bingo and turn your lights red. Remember, it's very important to get vaxxed, wear a mask, but pants are completely optional. This is Audible Smoke. Have a great weekend. Peace out.
Time to get the party started. Pick up my phone just to check and see who's calling. Dress up real nice for the ladies at the bar, and I'm driving in my car just to get to where they are. Here at the local scene is where I plant my feet. It's where I smoke my cigarette and I hold my drink. I look at all my friends, they're all blazing green. Here at the front of the stage waiting for MTV. Where are those guys who's standing next to me with a pipe in his hand ready to blaze for me? About 5 minutes later we're all singing Queen. I get the fuck up on stage and rock the scene, yeah. We do what we want, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. We do what we want, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. Enjoy that band. I turn and head back to the bar for a refill, man, because you know where we are. We're headed out to the car to smoke another one and another one. Now just when the magic starts kicking in, I hear relapse playing, you know it's time to head in. Alright everybody, now it's time to grab a new drink. Spark it if you got it and then pass it to me, yeah. We do what we want, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. We do what we want to do, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. Enjoy that band. Last up on the bill for the show tonight is Down and Dirty at 5, so we're headed outside to spark up another joint. Now who's got my lighter? Stoner E, of course, shouldn't you be inside? I'm all up in this bitch being who I gotta be. I'm fucked up like the US economy. The truth is that I don't think logically. Stoner E take you on a psychedelic odyssey. Now inside motherfuckers is rockin' me, and outside shit we smoke a lot of broccoli. Rocky the roller, yo, that sexy girl be jockin' me. Ain't too drunk to fuck, but I'll probably do it sloppily. We do what we want to do, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. Enjoy the band, enjoy the band. We do what we want to do, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. Molly say that he like jamming, and he hope he like jamming too. Well, I gotta say, thank you, Bob, we do.